Today, I'm going to give you some tips to help you pass the ACT. You may think the ACT is hard, but I promise you, once you understand how it operates, it'll be much, much easier for you. Don't we all want to perform well on ACT? I know I do. I'm sure I already know you guys' answers, which is yes. So let's do exactly that. Here are a few ways to ensure passing ACT. First, be sure you understand the general preparations for testing. Second, know the basic strategies for the test. Thirdly, take practice tests. You may think practicing is not the way to go. If you don't know it, you just don't know it, but you're wrong. Practice, 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 practice. Practice makes perfect. Lastly, know exactly what to expect on a day of testing. That way, when you get in there, your mind's right, you're focusing, just ready to take the test, and you're finished. So let's jump right into that. The first step, understanding the general preparations for taking the test. And when I say that, I mean get a good night's rest before the day of the exam, so you're fully rested, ready to go. Eat a good and healthy breakfast because you're going to be in there for 4 hours, so you don't want to be hungry. And also be familiar with the 4 multiple choice area. English. When you get to the English part, I suggest that when you go to correct, you just read and correct. Don't waste your time trying to read it all because you have a lot of questions. For the mathematics, I would just flip through the pages and answer the ones I know. Look for the easy ones, look for the ones you know. And if you don't know it, just guess it. And if you think you might know it, mark it. And if you have time, go back and answer it. Reading, skim through it. I know some people might say read the questions first, but get a short skim of the story and then answer your questions. For the science part, the science is not as complicated as you think because the graphs give you the answers. So just look at the graph, try to use some common sense and understand what it's asking you. And remember, this is a time test, so it is very important that you pace yourself. Lastly, make sure you have all of your needed materials, which includes a pencil, a calculator, your ID, and your testing ticket. Now that you understand the basics, let's talk about some basic strategies for passing. And when I say that, I mean if you don't know the problem, skip it. Skip it and just come back to it later. You might think about it later. And answer all of the questions that you know first. And one thing for sure is understand exactly what the question is asking you so you won't get confused. Be sure to use common sense when answering all of the questions. Even if it seems hard, just think about it. Use a process of elimination. If you know it's not A and you know it's not B, then pick out of the last two. And eliminate all of the questions right away that are completely out of range. If you know you don't know it, skip it, mark anything, and just focus on the ones that you can try to figure out. Lastly, do not second guess yourself. That is where the most people mess up. If you think this the answer, you leave it there. Unless you know for sure it's wrong, change it. If not, leave it alone. And now that you understand that, let's talk about taking practice tests. One thing you should do with taking practice tests, take them under the same conditions you would as if it was a real test. So that means if the English part is 60 minutes, you take the practice test for 60 minutes, just like every other part. And what I think might be useful as well is set your timer 5 minutes earlier, because when you're testing, they give you a 5-minute warning. So, that's a good condition that you're under when you're taking the real test. So that's something to think about. And if you plan on using a calculator on the test, make sure you use the same one that you've been practicing with. The one you use at school, just the one you're familiar with. Use the same one. And lastly, the last thing I said we need to do is know what to expect on testing. And everywhere you go, the test starts promptly at 8 o'clock. I suggest that you arrive 15 minutes earlier, just in case you might forget something. You need to sharpen the pencil. Just make sure you're there early. And once the test has begun, you cannot leave the testing room for any reason. You cannot. And if you do leave, your test will be voided. So you don't want to make that mistake. All personal items must be removed. You cannot have them with you, cell phones, none of that. And you cannot use scratch paper. You can use your booklet, but electronic devices other than a calculator, you can't have them. Dictionaries, ink pens, notebooks, and other aids, you can't have those either. So these are just some tips that I have given you to help you pass ACT. Giving you these tips, I think it'll be a lot easier for you guys to pass. I hope this information has really helped you so you can make your dream score.